Welcome back to Laughing in the Dark, the podcast where I hang out in haunted places with comedians. I'm your host, Sarah Jones. For this episode, I got to explore the legend of the Jersey Devil with Brooklyn comic Myq Kaplan. Myq Kaplan has appeared on The Tonight Show, Conan, Letterman, James Corden, Seth Meyers, Comedy Central, Last Comic Standing, America's Got Talent, and his own one-hour special on Amazon called Small, Dork, and Handsome. His debut album, Vegan Mind Meld, was one of iTunes' top 10 comedy albums of the year. And his newest critically acclaimed album, AKA, was called Invigoratingly Funny by the New York Times. It's out now. If you want, check out our Instagram at Lit Dark Podcast for photos that go along with this episode. For now, get comfortable because it's time to explore the legend of the Jersey Devil.
Hello.
Hi, is this Myq?
This is Myq.
Hi, Myq. This is Sarah calling from Laughing in the Dark.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. How are you doing? How's your day been going?
It's good. I was just on a call with a friend for a weekly catch-up that we have, and that was nice, and I allotted less time for it than usual, but it took the normal amount of time as usual.
Of course.
But yeah, that's good, and I did another fun live streaming show earlier, so it's been a busier Sunday than standard, but I'm happy to be doing all the things I'm doing.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So the live streaming shows, that sounds like that's like pretty much the new wave of comedy.
It is certainly a thing that is safe and healthy and available to do right now.
Yeah, no kidding. How are you liking that? Has that been an adjustment?
I feel like everything is an adjustment for everyone, unless your life was already. Just don't leave your home very much. But so yeah, I have adapted as much as can be for now, and am glad to have the opportunity to do it.
Well, that's a positive outlook. Okay, so you are from New Jersey originally, correct?
That is right.
And now you're in where? Brooklyn?
I am.
Okay, did my research, did my homework. Yeah. All right, so I had to do the Jersey Devil for your episode. Have you heard, has this been just beaten into the ground for you? Like, you know everything about it, or?
No, in fact, I know that the New Jersey Devils are a hockey team, but I don't know anything about the source material, so you're probably about to tell me a bunch of stuff I don't know.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, you're in for a treat. Actually, New Jersey is home to several ghost stories to choose from. There are legends surrounding the Shades of Death Road. Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
Okay. So that's something to look up in your spare time.
Sure.
There's terrifying stories about what's known as the Spy House that I thought would be interesting. But I felt I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to really dig in and talk about the infamous Jersey Devil. That's awesome, too, that you've lived there and you're not like, oh, God, I know all about this. Like, everyone knows the name. Nobody knows much about it, you know?
No, I know the Jersey Shore. I know The Sopranos. I know Bon Jovi, but I don't know the Jersey Devil.
All right. Well, you're about to. Originating in the Pine Barrens region, the Jersey Devil is in good company with several other local legends, including the ghost of the pirate Captain Kidd, who's believed to have buried treasure deep within the Pine Barrens and is sometimes seen accompanying the Jersey Devil himself. There's even said to be a white ghostly stag in the forest who's said to warn and aid travelers in danger. It reminds me of, what's that thing called in Harry Potter that he gets the like ghostly stag that comes out? The Patronus.
The Patronus, indeed.
Yes. That's what it reminds me of. Well, there is, do you know where the Pine Barrens is? I don't know anything about New Jersey.
I also don't.
Oh, you don't know where the Pine Barrens is?
No, I know things about New Jersey, but not that one.
Okay. Yeah. So a mysterious blue hole is nearby in the woods of the Pine Barrens. The Pine Barrens seems like it's a total just woodland area And they have the Blue Hole. It's a round and unusually blue body of water, often considered to be home to the Jersey Devil. It's located deep in the forest. The Blue Hole has especially blue water that's unique because other bodies of water surrounding the area are brown due to the deposits of bog iron and tannic acid. The Blue Hole is a popular party area where swimming and diving is illegal, though hardly enforced. In fact, it's a popular swimming spot in the summer months. There's probably people there right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So before I get into the legend, I'm going to go into descriptions of the Jersey Devil himself. Like I said, many people have heard the name, but have no visual to really put to it. That's how I was with it. While descriptions vary greatly, the Jersey Devil is generally said to be a two-legged, hooved creature with wings. It has the head of a goat, a horse, or maybe a big, shaggy dog. Its body is sometimes compared to that of a kangaroo, with large, leathery, bat-like wings. Are you seeing it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's sometimes seen with horns or antlers, small arms with clawed hands, and a forked reptilian tail. It's said to emit a high-pitched, unearthly scream and moves with impressive speed. Descriptions of the creature seem to be anatomically impossible. As Live Science points out, you'd have better luck putting butterfly wings on a rhino. Still, sightings persist even to this day. So clearly, I mean, I feel like if you had seen the Jersey Devil, you'd be telling me, like, actually, I've seen this sucker.
Oh, yeah. It seems to me that I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it seems to me the same way. Have you?
What you're describing definitely is new to me.
Yeah, you're not like, oh yeah, I thought that was just a thing.
Oh yeah,
I thought
that's
everyone
my
saw those.
uncle. Yeah.
Have you ever met anyone who claimed to have seen the Jersey Devil?
I don't think I have, or if I have, I don't remember it. They certainly didn't make an impression on me that they did. So I'll say that the answer is no.
All right, I've noted. I wonder if, like, I mean, what's crazy is, like, this is something that's known everywhere. It's not like just a regional thing. But you would think like someone would be. Did you know that even, or did you think that was just a New Jersey thing, the Jersey Devil thing?
I guess I knew very little about any of this.
Okay, great. So the history of the legend is said to begin in 1735 with a woman sometimes referred to as Mother Leeds. Mother Leeds was said to have 12 children, and when she became pregnant with her 13th child, she cursed the child, claiming it would be the devil. But mainly because, 13 kids, holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, too much.
Probably a couple other ones might be the devil, too.
I'm sure they were all the devil. I'm sure the parents were the devil at that point, just like, fuck this. That year, it's said, on a dark and stormy night, she gave birth to a child who, by all accounts, appeared to be normal at first, then later transformed into the cursed creature that I just described. Growling and screaming, it attacked witnesses with its forked tail before descending up through the chimney to terrorize the pines. It's believed that a midwife was slain in the creature's chaotic escape.
So, how long after the birth did it transform?
From what it sounds, since a midwife got hurt, I assume it's like minutes or maybe an hour.
Pretty soon. Yeah.
Like just starts kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, you gotta, to come out, I guess, I don't know how it works, like being, sure. A devil in disguise as a normal human child, but, yeah, wow, well, good to know who you are, I guess.
And you just, yeah, don't be anyone you're not. Just be the devil you are inside. Some versions of the story claim Mother Leeds had been a witch and that the father of the child was the devil himself. Others suggest that the creature was the result of a priest who allegedly cursed this wicked family. Legends say local clergymen attempted to exorcise this demon from the woods. However, if you hear it, that is actually not historically accurate. It just doesn't check out because at the time, the population was largely Quakers who did not actually perform exorcisms. Yeah. Some historians believe Mother Leeds was a woman who actually did exist in the historical record, a woman named Deborah Leeds. Deborah was the wife of a man named Japhet, Japhet. I think it's Japhet. I don't think it'd be Japhet. Japhet Leeds, who named 12 children in his 1736 will. They also lived in Leeds Point, which is now Atlantic County, New Jersey.
That I've heard of.
That you've heard of. So that's the area we're talking about.
I think that's southern Jersey. I grew up in northern Jersey. If I'm correct, that Atlantic County contains Atlantic City, which it would be kind of a mean trick if it didn't.
Yeah, it would be a really mean trick. I have no idea. I'm from Michigan and I live in California. I'm not familiar with New Jersey.
I dig it. And your phone looks like it's from Oregon.
I lived in Oregon for 8 years. So this show started in Portland, Oregon, and then, so all over the place, just not New Jersey yet.
My girlfriend lived in Portland, Oregon for 8 years as well.
Oh my God, what a coincidence. We probably know some of the same people.
Could be, if it was the same 8 years.
Well, there could be overlap. Two things can be true.
You're right.
Prior to 1900, the Jersey Devil was actually called the Leeds Devil, or the Devil of Leeds. This was either in reference to the Leeds family that I mentioned earlier, or to the area known as Leeds Point. Brian Regal, a historian at Keene University, suggests that the Jersey Devil legend actually originated in the early 20th century from a political dispute.
A political what?
A political dispute. I'll get into it. I'll get into it in detail. So, back when New Jersey was the European settlement, Nova Caesarea was what it was called, settlers in the region were mostly from England and were members of the religious order called the Society of Friends, also known as Quakers.
I know all about them.
Do you?
I mean, I did know that they are called the Society of Friends.
Oh, see,
and I read a book on Quaker wisdom recently. So
you did? So you are actually well equipped for this episode. You'll probably know a lot more than I will about them.
I mean, I know a little bit that I learned from one book. I don't want to pitch myself as an expert, but I'll be able to speak from that experience.
Well, don't worry. I don't pitch myself as an expert either. I did some cursory research and wrote everything out. So you're in good company.
Thank you.
Early local politician, Benjamin Franklin. Heard of him?
I have.
Oh, had a notorious rival almanac publisher named Leeds, last name Leeds. Due to possibly the oldest celebrity feud I've ever heard of, Benjamin Franklin and his followers described the Leeds family as monsters.
Huh.
Daniel Leeds may have actually been referred to as the Jersey Devil before the name was attributed to any creature. To further support this theory, Leeds had acquired land in the Egg Harbor area, which is within the Pine Barrens. The land was inherited by Leeds' sons and is now known as Leeds Point. This is the area most commonly associated with sightings of the Jersey Devil. So, who was Daniel Leeds anyway? Daniel Leeds was a Quaker in pre-revolutionized colonial southern New Jersey. He became ostracized by his congregation in 1687 after publishing an almanac which contained astrological symbols and writings. The almanacs were censored and destroyed by the community, considering the astrological signs and writings to be blasphemous and, quote, too pagan. But Daniel Leeds, despite the controversy, became increasingly interested in Christian occultism, mysticism, cosmology, demonology, and angelology, and natural magic. Which, of course, the Quakers are not fans of.
No, they're simpler folk.
Yeah. Leeds converted to Anglicanism and published criticisms of Quaker theological beliefs, just further salting the wound to his damaged reputation in this community. He then did the unthinkable and became involved with the British Royal Governor of New Jersey, Lord Cornbury, which is his real name.
Sure.
This was the nail in the coffin. He was considered a traitor for aiding the crown and rejecting Quaker beliefs, so they wrote him off as completely evil.
People do that sometimes.
They do. And like you can see why he became just like a pariah in his society. He's like talking back against Quaker beliefs. He's also like they're trying to, revolutionize and separate themselves from the crown, and he's totally in bed with the enemies. So yeah, they were not a fan of the Leeds family.
It's so interesting because the book that I read of Quaker wisdom was mostly about how they're chill. And so, if people believe things that they didn't believe, they'd probably be like, well, that's not our thing. But our thing is listening to the spirit speak within from a place of the wisdom of silence. And so, I'm not telling anyone how to be a Quaker.
Sure.
But I think, like many religions, at the core, at the seed, there's these commonalities of love, compassion, openness, and knowledge that there are many paths, up the same mountain or fingers pointing at the same moon. But of course, it is mostly humans that are practicing these religions, and humans have their ways of losing their ways.
True. Yeah, well said. And it's true. Yeah, in order for them all to kind of feel like they have an in-group, someone has to be in the out-group. And anyone rejecting their beliefs, I guess, ends up kind of on the wrong side of that. So Daniel Leeds' son, Titan Leeds, was a fantastic name also. The names in this are just great.
Yeah.
So Titan inherited the almanac business and continued to publish astrological content. Eventually, his almanac competed with Benjamin Franklin's popular Poor Richard's Almanac. This culminated when, in 1733, Benjamin Franklin and Titan Leeds started the aforementioned bitchy feud. Benjamin Franklin published satirical astrology in his almanac, predicting Titan's death in October of the same year. So Titan's pissed, and he posts a public opposition, calling Benjamin Franklin a fool and a liar. Benjamin Franklin responds by publicly mocking Titan and suggests that the prediction had been true, and Titan is in fact publishing as a ghost, tormenting Franklin.
That's what Benjamin Franklin said?
Yep, this is all true.
Wow.
Titan Leeds died in 1738, and Benjamin Franklin ruthlessly continued to refer to him as a ghost. Like mockingly.
Like he did when he was alive.
Like he did when he was alive, exactly. Which I know, I was kind of shocked. I was like, do you guys know Benjamin Franklin was like kind of bitchy?
I did not.
I didn't either. So Daniel Leeds, being seen as a blasphemous traitor in the colonial South New Jersey area, coupled with Benjamin Franklin referring to his son Titan constantly as a ghost, may have originated or at least contributed to the folk legend of the Jersey Devil, or at that time what it was known was as the Leeds Devil in the Pines Barren. To further add to this, during 1728, Titan Leeds began to use the Leeds family crest on the cover of his almanac. The crest depicted a creature that I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce, called a wyvern. Wyvern.
Sounds right to me.
Okay, great. So a wyvern, if I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure I'll get a comment about it later on the internet. A wyvern is a bat-winged dragon, it's a legendary creature standing upright on two clawed feet, which looks almost exactly like descriptions of the Jersey Devil. Plus, at the time, family crests were also associated with nobility and royalty in aristocracy, which is what most residents in South Jersey at the time were strongly against. So for all these reasons, it just all fuels the fire, and the Leeds family are just full-on pariahs. By the late 1700s to early 1800s, the Leeds Devil had developed into a pervasive legend in southern New Jersey. Into the early 19th century, stories continue to circulate about the monster. By the early 20th century, references to the Jersey Devil start to appear in newspapers and other printed materials. Sightings are reported as early as 1859 in the Atlantic Monthly, And a sighting was reported in a newspaper in 1887 describing a winged creature referred to as the Leeds Devil, which was said to have emitted an unearthly yell that frightened the dogs. There have been countless sightings of the Jersey Devil. Reportedly, Commodore Stephen Decatur witnessed the flying creature during a visit to the Hanover Mill Works to inspect cannonball production. He claims to have fired a cannonball directly at the creature to no effect. Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's older brother, reportedly witnessed the creature in 1820, and later in 1840, the Jersey Devil was believed to be the perpetrator of many livestock killings. The following year saw similar attacks supposedly accompanied by mysterious tracks and blood-curdling, unearthly screams. During 1 week in January of 1909, mass hysteria broke out around hundreds of reported sightings of the creature in the area. Encounters claimed attacks on a trolley car and a social club, and even that the police had shot at the creature to no avail. Sightings of the Jersey Devil were reported from South Jersey as far as Delaware and Western Maryland. One woman even claimed to have seen the animal attempting to eat her dog and says that she beat it away with a broomstick. A trolley car full of witnesses says that the beast terrorized the car before flying away. They described it as a strange ostrich-like creature. So it's kind of interesting, too, to me, that the way that people describe it all seems to be really similar. It's like a two-legged creature with a strange body, and they compare it to either like a kangaroo, an ostrich. Like, it's bizarre. It's bizarre, the similarities between all of the accounts. But at the same time, it's like, how is this thing evading us? How have we not had any like solid evidence of it?
Do you think the people who are witnessing it and describing it similarly to others have no record of the others' accounts as well? Or is it possible that the legend has spread and so people are expecting to see a certain thing and so maybe they do?
That's what I think it is. And I think I wrote that towards the end of this episode too, that it is possible that if you've heard this legend over and over again, you can see something that you're like, what the hell is that? And then your brain kind of fills in the details and you're like, I know what that was. That's the Jersey Devil, you know? The hysteria was most widespread in the towns of Bridgeton and Millville. Do you know where those are?
I don't.
Great.
They sound like
me neither.
Farther away than where I grew up, but I believe it.
I believe it too. It was most widespread in those towns where chickens were being inexplicably eaten and slaughtered in the night of an unsettling rate, or at an unsettling rate, rather. The fear was so great in Delaware Valley that it even prompted school closures and workers stayed home. During the hysteria, the Philadelphia Zoo allegedly offered a $10,000 reward for the capture of the winged beast, suggesting that they would build an enclosure for it had it been caught. This prompted, of course, a number of hoaxes, which included a kangaroo equipped with artificial claws and bat wings. In December of 1925, a local farmer claims to have slain a mysterious creature when it attempted to steal his chickens. This guy seems to just love chickens. He says, oh yeah, who doesn't? He says he photographed the corpse, but of the 100 people he showed the photograph to, none could confidently identify it. Later in July of 1937, an unknown animal with red eyes was seen by several residents of Downingtown, Pennsylvania. A reporter at the time compared the creature to the Jersey Devil, of course. In 1957, claims of a corpse matching the Jersey Devil's description arose, and a few years later, in 1960, tracks and noises near Mary's Landing were attributed to the creature. So to this day, many people still believe that the Jersey Devil is very real and a very dangerous creature. Reports of strange, unidentifiable tracks are still made in the Pine Barrens, described as either the footprints of a strange bird or cloven footprints of a two-legged creature. Of course, some sightings can be explained. An outdoorsman and author named Tom Brown Jr. spent many seasons living in the Pine Barrens in the wilderness. He was on several occasions mistaken as the Jersey Devil by terrified hikers after he had covered his entire body with mud to repel mosquitoes. As you do.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. There are a few more recent accounts I was able to find in comment sections, which isn't hard. I mean, there's so many. If you Google it, you'll find thousands of people that are like, yeah, I've seen it.
Wow.
Yeah. So a woman named Mary described an incident where she was driving on Green Tree Road one winter night, and she saw something in her rearview mirror. It was an upright figure standing much taller than a man, on thick goat-like haunches, with a huge woolly head crossing the road behind her, which is just a chilling image. Another similar encounter happened on Route 9. The witness said the description was very similar to most classic images of the creature, although it had no tail or fur and its ribs were showing. They estimated its height to be around 10 feet tall. He says the two cars in front of him also slammed their brakes, confirming to himself that he wasn't the only one to see the creature, as he says, galloping across the road. The speed of it is what gets me too. It's like this huge, creepy looking thing you've never seen that's super tall, and it's fast.
And just to be clear, it's these people are reporting it to be tangible, like not like a ghost that can just disappear, but more like a Bigfoot that has mass and exists like in our dimension.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of this mysterious creature that, I mean, there are several people who believe Bigfoot exists, and they're just great at hiding that it's just like an actual creature.
I understand.
Do you believe that?
I mean, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about Bigfoot or such creatures.
Yeah.
So it seems like the kind of thing that, like you said, you can look online and find many people who have their accounts and sincere beliefs. And from my, at least multi-person removed distance, there are many explanations for that. I certainly I believe that a lot of people have experienced an animal galloping across a street in front of them or out of the corner of their eye in the woods at night behind them. But it's when the specifics get filled in that my Occam's razor, kicks in.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way, just because I've never seen anything like that. But like I have seen a ghost. So when I talk to people about that, people that have never experienced that are like, well, are you sure you weren't dreaming? Are you sure? Whatever. And so that it kind of opens my eyes to like, well, things like this could happen and I could just not know about it. Or there's so many creatures at the bottom of the ocean that we just don't know about. There's a lot we don't know. So
that's definitely true about the ocean and our capacity and actual knowledge that we contain in general. I'm sure that you've talked about this before, but for my benefit, can you answer briefly, how old were you when you saw the ghost? How long did you see it for? And what time of day and location was it?
Yes. Okay. So the one that I saw, I was in 3rd grade, so I was young. I was laying in bed. She was standing at the edge of my bed on the end, like where my feet were.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her for about, it probably was only for a handful of seconds, but it felt like a really long time because I made eye contact with her, and I remember thinking it was bizarre that she was looking directly into my eyes. It's not like she was looking past me. It's not like she was like, it was like, there's no doubt she sees me. Like, because you kind of like wake up startled and then you're like, maybe they don't see me. You're like, no, she's
sure.
Locked in. So we were making eye contact and I like sat up straight, and then I had this feeling of like, okay, I kind of want to get out of my bed, but I don't want to either, like, I don't want to upset her because I feel like I'm not in danger or anything. But if I upset her, she might get angry and it could be bad. So I like slowly took my foot and like moved it off the side of my bed, maintaining eye contact with her so that I could see if anything weird happens. And the second my foot hit the floor, I like jumped out of my bed. And that's when I felt fear that like that when my foot made contact with the ground and I left. But what was so unique about the experience, besides seeing a fucking ghost, is that my eyes were closed. It was like the middle of the night. And my mom used to wake us up by like throwing the light on in the room, being like, all right, get ready, go to school. And I saw, you know, when your eyes are shut, but the lights turn on and you can see that like orange glow, I guess. So I saw that. And part of me was like, oh God, like we have to get up, we have to go to school. And I felt a female presence at the end of my bed that I assumed was my mom. I thought she was about to be like, hey, get up. And when I opened my eyes, the lights were still off, which alarmed me. And then I looked over and that woman was standing there. So it's like I felt her gender weirdly before I even saw her. And in that exact same house, I had that same experience without actually seeing a ghost, but I felt the gender of a man standing behind my friend at a sleepover while we were talking. And as my friend was telling a story, she just stopped and said, I feel like there's like a man behind me, inexplicably. And I was like, all right, let's go upstairs. So I think that house was haunted by like a couple or something. But yeah, that was my experience. And then I've had, you know, several other little things. That was the main one.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome. Yeah, and there's all kinds of stories, but it's one of those things that it's like you have to experience it to know if it's real or not. And I do think 9 times out of 10 it's not. Which is why I go into the research of like, all right, this is what people say, but this is probably where this legend started. Like, you know, I try to be as discerning as I can with like, all right, let's not be ridiculous here. What's really going on? So anyway, a man named Keith recounts a time when he was camping alone in the Pine Barrens, and he heard a loud footstep just behind his tent. As he was about to peek out of his tent, he heard a loud scream, as loud as a truck's horn, he says. After several screams, it stopped and seemed to have flown off. He never saw the creature and did not see any tracks in the pine needles the following morning. Which, of course, yeah, that could be anything, you know. But these are people telling their stories. So I have 2 more interesting stories that people attribute to the Jersey Devil. One girl named Kelly described a particularly disturbing event when she went to the Pine Barrens on a school trip. She and a friend had discovered a bag that had been ripped apart and ransacked with large hoof prints right next to it. Too large for a horse, she claims. She and her friend then heard the part human, part beast, full anger and hateful scream that still haunts her. Later, as the bus was pulling away, she looked at a cabin and saw a woman, her flesh ripped and bleeding. As the bus pulled off, the woman vanished. So that's a little bit of a ghost addition to it. Alan McFarland was the chief ranger of the Wharton State Forest for over 20 years. He recounts an event in which he had gone to a farmer's home near Jenkins and found 4 pigs lying dead, covered in scratches. To his horror, when he turned the pigs over, he could see that all of them had the backs of their heads sunken in, as though their brains had been eaten by an unknown beast. No tracks or blood were found on the ground, and though he doesn't explicitly point to the Jersey Devil as the cause of the slayings, he could not find an explanation for the horror that he had stumbled upon. Countless stories describe this strange screaming. Some describe it as though coming from a tortured woman, while others have outright described it as inhuman, a tortured, piercing scream. Of course, there have been several hoaxes involving the Jersey Devil. The alleged footprints cited in 1909 seemed to resemble a horse's hoof. Later, a man admitted to falsifying the footprints. Norman Jeffries, a notorious hoaxer and publicist for Philadelphia's Arch Street Museum, admitted to planting newspaper stories of fictionalized sightings of the Jersey Devil in order to boost attendance to the local museum. It was actually he who purchased a kangaroo from a circus and attached artificial claws and bat wings to the poor animal with glue. That falsified animal was put on display at the museum. Jeffries would take 20 years before admitting to the hoax. Even those who truly believe to have seen something, this is like what we were talking about earlier, they can be influenced by the popular lore surrounding the area. Something that may have been relatively unremarkable elsewhere could be given the title of the Jersey Devil simply because of where it was seen or heard. As you know, the Jersey Devil has been pervasive in popular culture for a very long time. From the X-Files, dozens of books and horror films, names of sports teams and local bars, even Boy Scouts patches, the Jersey Devil has become a cultural icon. The creature has never convincingly been photographed or captured. Still, it is made for a centuries-old legend which evokes imagination, wonder, and sometimes terror in the hearts of many. The Pinelands Commission even offers a positive spin on the creature, suggesting that some believe the Jersey Devil is in fact a protector of the Pinelands who means no harm to humans.
Oh yeah, is there any of the Jersey Devil harming anyone?
You know what? There's nothing that I could find seemed to have like a direct, like, I know someone who is hurt by the Jersey Devil, you know? No newspaper article or anything. It seems like killings of animals were attributed to it, which of course could be anything. A wolf or something. And it seems like the only story I can think of that I heard of where someone was actually physically harmed by it are like the little ghost stories and legends that have no real name. You can actually look up and be like, okay, who was this person and like what was their cause of death or anything like that. To me, again, not saying I know anything because I've never even been to the Pine Barrens, but to me, it sounds like this is a legend that probably started with that political dispute with Benjamin Franklin and has just grown in, like, swollen itself into this huge cultural icon where we still recognize the name, you know?
Oh yeah, and full disclosure, I just went online and looked up, on Wikipedia, the Jersey Devil page. It says New Jersey Devil redirects here for the NHL hockey team named after the creature. See New Jersey Devils. It's funny, I never even knew there was a specific creature. I didn't know why it was called that, but I also saw that there was an X-Files episode about it. And I think I saw every episode of that show, so I must have also taken in some information about it.
Yeah.
It was in the first season of the show.
I'm surprised that you, to be honest with you, I thought that right when I said, all right, I had to take this chance to do the Jersey Devil, I really thought you were going to be like, oh God, here we go. Like, of course, like I thought it was so crazy big in the culture of that state that you would have known all about it.
I'm gonna start asking people that I grew up with, like my mom and my dad and friends, if they are familiar, and if they are, why didn't they tell me? Or if they did, why don't I remember?
Or maybe there's some kind of a conspiracy here. They don't want you to remember. Something might have happened.
It's very possible. I don't remember everything that happened.
That's true. Neither do I. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm glad for your sake that you're not like, yep, I have to sit through this fucking thing again. But it's true too. Like, I think for me, what solidifies in my head that it's, this is kind of just like another Bigfoot thing. That first of all, there's a whole story about it was called the Leeds Devil. This is the area. This was the family. Everyone hated this family. And their family crest looks exactly like what people describe as the Jersey Devil. To me, that makes sense. It makes sense that it becomes a whole legend that's passed on for generations. And now people don't even remember where it started. They just know the name, the Jersey Devil. To me, that makes the most sense. Because nothing really stood out as like compelling evidence of like, oh, actually there was this type of creature. You know what I mean? It wasn't really, I don't know.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like in the 1700s, like we don't have a lot of video records of anything, so
Right.
People believed various different things at different times, but I'm looking now. The creature with hooves, a goat's head, bat wings, and a forked tail. Like I mean, what a concoction.
Yeah, it is. And the more you look into, that's the other thing, that the inconsistencies that you're like, okay, this is a little ridiculous. But like the more you look into it too, you'll find all different descriptions of like how the head looks. That's what, like, it's like a shaggy dog, or it's like a, it's insane. It's wild. It's pretty much any creature you can imagine. Yeah, that's the Jersey Devil. Like whatever the most ridiculous combination you can come up with, that's what it looks like. Like very few consistencies.
This sort of went by me before, but I'm re-looking at the Wikipedia, where it says the legend states that mother leads at 12 children, and after finding she was pregnant for the 13th time, cursed the child in frustration, crying the child would be the devil. I mean, just another manifestation of patriarchy here, where she curses the child and not the man who impregnated her 13 times.
True. Unless the other legend of it was either that she basically curses it as like, I've had enough, like 12 that's my limit, or she's impregnated by the devil himself.
Sure, which, I mean, if you're going to do it, number 13 makes sense. I mean,
sure.
I don't know if my skeptical leanings have been, put on record as fully, like, I 100% believe that people witness animals in nature.
Right.
And that there are, as we've said, animals that, like, they're discovering new fossils all the time. They're discovering like new species when you go further into the jungle, or further into any less explored area, further into the ocean. And so it's certainly, I don't believe that we know everything about all the animals that exist. But when you get specifically down to like, so where did this animal come from? Well, a lady had sex with the devil, or her husband, but then the devil came out. Like, that's where my understanding of evolution differs from this account.
Yeah, exactly. And just the sensationalized, all of it. The sensationalized elements of it makes me feel like it makes a lot more sense that some kind of a feud happened with these politicians, almanac publishers, which I guess was a big deal then too. Can you imagine like two almanac publishers making the news, being like this crazy feud? Like,
oh yeah,
who cares? It's an almanac. But then, I mean, they don't have TV. Like, this is their shit. That's their bread and butter.
Also, do you know? What was the thing that I wanted to say about? Oh yeah, it's sort of like a game of telephone, where like when you're playing telephone, like in good faith, sometimes the actual thing that you hear will shift.
Right.
And then by the end of like, oh wow, that is different. How did that happen? You can kind of imagine it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I think I know this because I've been this child, this character. You just make up something completely. Like, everyone else is trying to pass along, the good word scientifically, empirically, and then you're like, banana, I'm gonna say goat. And then at the end, like, how did it get to be? Wow, let's try and figure this out. When the answer is somebody at one point made something up and presented it as true, and then other people believed in quote unquote good faith, that everyone was acting that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I guess what I think is so interesting about when I did the research on this, because that's what I figured it was. I figured it was like a local legend, and people passed it down, and everyone's like, oh, I know someone who saw it, but you never actually meet someone who's seen the creature. You only meet people who know someone who told them that they knew someone that saw it,
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of what I figured. I was just surprised to see the whole rivalry that was like, oh, okay, so maybe this was more just trying to like defame this entire family and just make them look terrible. And now that's just lasted so long that it's the name of an NHL hockey team. It's on an episode of X-Files. You know, how crazy is that? That's nuts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like Benjamin Franklin just hated this family. And now the X-Files has a whole episode on it. You know, it's nuts.
Yeah, like this is from a, you know, at least closer to a time when people believed in witches so much that they could be found guilty of being them in court.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So calling somebody a ghost or a monster was a different thing than it is for many people today.
Yeah, that makes perfect. That's actually a really good perspective too. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and actually a lot of these descriptions too. Have you heard of the Mothman?
That sounds familiar, but I can't say too much about it.
Have you seen the movie The Mothman Prophecies?
I've heard of it, but haven't seen it.
Great. But actually, I mean, the Mothman is like a similar thing. It's a huge winged creature with red eyes that's seen. I believe it's in Maryland. That doesn't sound
okay.
Right. Point Pleasant. That's in Maryland, right? Point Pleasant.
I think Point Pleasant's New Jersey. At least there is one in New Jersey. So,
Point Pleasant. Well, then that's another
Point Pleasant,
thing.
West Virginia is what it looks like.
Okay.
That's where the Mothman statue and marker is.
But the Mothman is actually kind of similar to the descriptions of this Jersey Devil. It's a big winged creature with red eyes on two legs, but it has a completely different name. So then I start thinking, okay, wait, is this just a legend that gets passed on and then the name changed? Maybe like you're saying, someone said goat instead of banana, and now they call it the Mothman in this state, but in this other state they call it the Jersey Devil. Or is it possible that there could be a very large winged bipedal creature that has red eyes that's been seen, and wherever it lives is just elusive to us? And only a handful of people have seen it, and they have different names for it. There's different legends around it, but it exists.
If you're asking me, I cannot confirm or deny with 100% accuracy the possibility thereof.
Yeah, but it's like, I like to wonder. I want to believe.
I dig it. I mean, yeah. I like believing in stuff.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, that's my story about the Jersey Devil. I'm shocked that. So you're saying that you knew it was a hockey team, but you had no idea there was even like a legend around it or anything like that?
100%. I grew up. It's like, I grew up in New Jersey, so there was the New York Giants and the New York Jets and the New Jersey. I think it was the New Jersey Knicks at the time, unless I'm getting that wrong. The New York Knicks. There was certainly some basketball team around here also. And so like, I didn't know, I still don't know, why is the team called the Giants? Why is the team called the Jets? Right. Why is the team called the Knickerbockers? Why is the team called the Devils? There was never a reason for, like, it was the exception, not the rule. Like, the Miami Hurricanes, like, oh, hurricanes are in Miami sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's a basketball team called the Utah Jazz. I have some friends that have jokes about it. And what does Jazz have to do with Utah?
Right.
So very frequently, the name of the team, like, the Minnesota Vikings, perhaps there were Norse explorers that made it to that area. And, but the Boston Red Sox, the Chicago White Sox, the Denver Broncos, like, I guess, do horses hang out in Denver? So there was, if you knew that there was a reason that the New Jersey Devils were called that, then great. But if you didn't know, then you'd be like, well, I guess it's just like every other team that doesn't make any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. But what's insane to me is that I have always been interested in paranormal stuff and, like, Bigfoot stuff, alien stuff, all of this stuff. And I had always known the Jersey Devil. I've always known what that name is. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I knew there
Sure.
was supposed to be a creature called the Jersey Devil. And to me, it's like, it's just surprising that you're from that state and you hadn't heard anything about that legend. But I'm glad I could, regale you with these tales.
Oh, happy to be regaled. I guess my final question for you then
Sure.
is in your researchings, in your wonderings and findings, what would you say is the most like commonly known, seen, believed, shared tale? Like, because I'm sure that other than watching the X-Files, sometimes like there's other ones. You hear about certain like Bigfoot. Is that like the most famous of these creatures, or or do you have a favorite?
Okay. Okay, I would think Bigfoot has to be the most. I mean, just because everyone knows what it is. I thought everyone knew what the Jersey Devil was, but even
Sure.
people growing up in New Jersey didn't. But everyone knows what Bigfoot is. And that is definitely, something that's also pervasive in our culture. We see it in Oregon too, in the Pacific Northwest. It's on like everything because that's supposed to be where Bigfoot's seen all the time, or in the woods of the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if I have a favorite. I think that I, like you, am pretty skeptical. So I think most of the time I'm like, well, I don't know if I don't know if I believe this. And other times I think, well, maybe it's possible that creature exists, and for whatever reason, it just lives somewhere that we never think to look for it. But I think what my favorite is have you ever watched YouTube videos after a tsunami where they'll like show all these creatures from the bottom of the ocean that wash up that we've just never seen?
I don't know that I have.
That is
but that
something you
makes
should
sense.
spend an afternoon doing. It will blow your mind because they're all real. They're photographs of real creatures that are at the bottom of our ocean that have not been discovered yet because we just haven't explored it. We haven't been able to get down there. To me, those are my favorite things because I like to wonder. I like using my imagination, but I also like to have some kind of factual basis for it because to me, it's way cooler to be like, this is real than to be like, wouldn't this be neat? I don't know.
I hear you.
So yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question.
No, it does. I'm happy for you to have answered the way you saw fit.
What do you think? Do you have a favorite, or are you just totally like, I don't worry about this stuff?
I mostly don't worry about it.
Sure.
Like, I guess when I watch a show like The X-Files, like, I think I like better when they're making everything up completely. Like, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Sure.
And you can watch that and be like, is that how vampires really are? They're like, well, that's not what this show's about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I do believe, like, of course, every story that's told by a person comes from the mind of a person. The person came from a society, a culture, a family, a set of beliefs and ideas and mores, and some things that we know are fictional, some things that we know are factual or believe them to be, and some things that seem more to exist on at least we don't know where on the sliding scale it lies. So, like, I do like, here's another thing about me. I enjoy like a psychedelic journey, which certainly involves exploring things that you don't see every day.
Sure.
Which I have some friends who do that and also are really into. Do you know Ryan Singer? He has a podcast called, I believe it's called Me and Paranormal You.
Yeah, I've actually been a guest on his podcast.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and he's awesome. I love him.
Oh yeah, he is delightful. And so I love when people are exploring what they love and are curious about what they're curious about.
Right.
And so I love Ryan, and I love that quality in Ryan. But for myself, I don't spend my time exploring this topic the same way that he does or that you do.
Right.
So
right.
I don't have as, like, the other day I was on a podcast and a friend of mine, I was with two friends, and one of them asked me what your favorite concert you ever went to was. And I grew up playing music, and I love music. I still play music. I listen to music. I love music. But as a comedian, most of the time when I'm going out to a show at night, it's my show, so I don't go to a lot of concerts.
Right.
So I talked about that, but I shared some musicians that I liked, and then I said to his co-host, Bob, I said, Bob, what's your favorite concert or musician or band or anything, if you want to say, if like concerts aren't your thing? And he said, I'd say mine is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, humorously, it's like the question is, what's your favorite band or musician or concert or anything? And he's like, my favorite music is football.
Right.
But sincerely, I'm glad for people to talk about what they are most passionate about, what they care about, what they're most inquisitive about, what they spend their time and energy and life, desires and resources on. And so it makes sense that you have, if you can have a favorite, you don't have to have a favorite, but you have a lot to say about this topic. Whereas I, who have not engaged with it as much because I have not been called or moved to, I have been called and moved to look into as many other things as I have. And so surely could spend and have spent hours and hours talking about my own interests and time spendings. But I would say I offhand don't that much with this.
Well, I'm glad to give you a window into my little world of peculiarities then.
Happy to peer in.
All right. Well, thanks so much for talking to me. Have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure, and I did learn a lot.
I hope you enjoyed learning all about the Jersey Devil with Myq and I. Be sure to find Myq on Instagram at Myq Kaplan. That's at MYQ-KAPLAN. While you're at it, check us out on social media too. You can find us on Instagram with the handle Lit Dark Podcast. That's LITDARK Podcast. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube. Drop us a comment, say hi. We love hearing from you. Special thanks for this episode goes to my producer, Randall Lawrence in Cranival Studios, my graphic designer, Jonathan Cooper in Heck Yeah Studios, Myq for being such a fun guest, and of course, all of you for listening. I'll see you next time right here on Laughing in the Dark.
Sources used for episode 8 of Laughing in the Dark include WeirdNJ.com, Wikipedia, Live Science, the State of New Jersey Pinelands Commission, American Folk Life Center, and the Skeptical Inquirer.
Laughing in the Dark is brought to you in part by Heck Yeah Studio. Heck Yeah Studio is a creative effort working with people to create meaningful things. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with clients to turn their ideas or existing brands into real or better versions. Heck Yeah Studio is the place to go for custom illustration for a full range of branding services, like killer logos, great colors and typography, and fun illustrations for pins, signs, prints, shirts, vehicles, posters, or anything you can imagine. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with love. Their dream client is someone who is passionate about what they do. At Laughing in the Dark, Heck Yeah Studio has designed our logo, all of our merch, and any posters or stickers that we have. I am so proud and lucky to work with such an awesome company, and I could not recommend them higher.